The washing machine's on. Gross. You gonna be sexy?
I wouldn't say sexy. I'm just too lazy to go in the house and wash my face, so I said I would wash it here. Guys, what's up? How are you? Hey, Vanessa, what would you say is the hardest thing about a relationship? Can you turn the washing machine off, please? That's really rude.
Can you turn the washing
Well,
machine?
you're closer. You're closer to the washing machine.
Hardest thing about a relationship.
You have to talk into camera.
The hardest thing about being in a relationship is...
You have to talk into camera. They can't hear you because you're soft-spoken and it's going out over there. You got to talk directly, like
is
this.
somebody always telling you what to do.
Why is your head so small? What do you think is the hardest thing about a relationship?
Honestly, I think it's, for me, as a classic avoidant, it's never being alone.
Never being alone? Mm-hmm. You mean you want to be alone? Or
like just always having to think about and like somebody else and be around somebody else, and like it's not a personal thing to you, it's just like in general. I think that's difficult. To always have to be considering somebody else in everything that you do and say, and
That's what loving someone looks like. Or you mean your own space, like needing to be apart and creating your own space.
Maybe both. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's hard for some people. Not everybody, I'm sure, but I think some people struggle with that.
Hey guys, we were chatting about codependency and came up with a really good measure of when something is a need and when something is needy. So as Vanessa gives you that, I'm going to look at your questions.
So because I'm on the codependent side, and I teach codependency classes, as most of you guys know, twice a week, in the lab. Last night, or the last class, we were talking about acknowledging our needs, and somebody said, how do we know, is there a way to know what's a reasonable versus an unreasonable need, right? So like need versus being needy. And as a codependent myself, I struggle with answering that question because I don't know. I had the same struggle internally, right? Like my go-to, my gut reaction is to not speak up, to ask for a need to be met, because that immediately makes me feel needy. So I just don't say anything and I swallow it down. And what I do tell people in all of my codependency classes is usually if you can get really, really honed in on what resentment feels like for you, that is usually your codependency being triggered in some way. And so I would say it's the same for needs, right? If you feel resentful, if you feel resentment, then most likely you have a need that's being unmet. And you took it further and said, to ask yourself, if this need doesn't get met, will I hold resentment? And if the answer is yes, then it's a need that's worthy of being spoken or brought up. If my answer is no, and you have to be very honest with yourself, then maybe it is more from like a needy place.
Yeah, so play with that. Maybe that's a good marker for you guys.
Yeah.
All right, question. How do you talk to someone that's gaslighting about gaslighting without being gaslit?
That's amazing.
How do you talk to someone about gaslighting without being gaslit? I think you have to be honest, and if someone is really gaslighting you, they're going to make you feel crazy, like it's in your head. And I think you need to not allow yourself to be swayed if you really believe that there's gaslighting going on.
Right. And I would say if you're feeling like this person is gaslighting you about being gaslit, if it's that many layers, then why are you trying to convince or have that kind of conversation with them to begin with? That feels like information to me, very clear information to me about the kind of capacity this person has.
Yeah. Giselle728 asks, how do you know when a guy is genuinely interested in you? Especially today when people are able to hide behind phones and talk a lot of shit but not really show up. How do you know if a guy is genuinely interested in you? So, Vanessa, how have you known that guys were interested in you in your past?
The actions and the words are in sync.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, if someone's interested in you, you will know. Like, I feel like if you're ambivalent or you're not sure, then the chances are the person is probably not that into you. Now, that being said, in the beginning, there is a dance, right? I mean, I'm not saying like if you go out with someone and then, the guy doesn't, within the first couple days respond, it doesn't mean he's not into you. I'm saying over the period of, a few months or so, like you will eventually know if someone is interested in you or not.
Right. So like somebody just said like basically how, like give an example. So like if they talk about wanting to meet up, they talk about wanting to see you, and then they don't follow through with action, right? Like planning, following through with plans, like if they flake on your plans, their action is always going to be information. So don't just take words at face value. Make sure that their words and their actions align.
Yeah. Mine didn't.
In the beginning, no, they did not.
All right, guys. Let's not go into the past. Girl with a doodle asks, why do I keep believing the married man who says he's leaving his wife? Oh, this is common. This is so common. I have a lot to say about this.
Well, first off, it sounds like by the way you answered or the way you wrote your question, you don't actually believe him. It sounds like you want to believe him, because even in the way you wrote that, it's clear that you know it's not true.
It's so hard to build a relationship in general. Why make it 10 times harder by trying to get involved with someone who is married or taken? I think you should stay away from all those situations.
You mean like it's just an extra layer, you mean, of difficulty?
I don't think it's fair to you. I don't think it's fair to that person. I think it's also telling of that person who is married and being doing things around his wife's back, right? The whole thing is just a car crash.
Right, and when you say telling, what's interesting is it's not like, my gut is not that it's telling like, this whole like once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't actually believe that.
I don't believe in that.
But I think it's telling that this person can't speak up, doesn't want to rock the boat, has the capacity to actually sneak around, maybe isn't honest about their feelings, has problems with being really intimate and vulnerable. Like that's the kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't think that because your relationship started off from an affair that person is going to also cheat on you as well. I'm not saying that, but when things happen without other relationships being closed, and if people are just sneaking around and being dishonest, it just sets you up for something that's just going to bring a lot of stress, and I think it's going to be wobbly. Oh, hold on. All right, let's do one more question because I'm sweaty. All right, you want to pick one?
You're sweaty. God, you get so many questions. I don't even know. It would take me so long to even read them.
What about this one? Oh man, look how close we were.
I know. I'm like reading it.
Hey guys, let me find the question for you. My ex and I have amazing sex. Congratulations. I have also a V-sweet admirer who is unhappily married. What?
My ex and I have amazing sex. I also have a very sweet admirer who is unhappily married. Basically, she's saying she's choosing between an ex that she has great sex with and somebody who is very sweet, who admires her, that's married unhappily.
I think the V stands for Valentine's Day.
No.
No?
Very.
Okay. So my ex
I don't know what the choice is in this, right? Like,
so you have an ex.
You have an ex, or you have somebody who's married. Like, those are the two people that you're choosing between. If those are the two people you're choosing between, then I think the work needs to be around why are you choosing between two people who seem emotionally unavailable.
And also, if you have amazing sex, but the relationship didn't work out, I wonder how much of that amazing is dysfunction. I wonder how much of the chemistry that is in the bedroom, because it could feel amazing as in potent and lots of dopamine, role playing and all that stuff, right? Which of course is amazing, but if he's an ex, that means the relationship didn't work out, right? So I wouldn't judge a relationship just based on sex.
Totally.
Right? All right, guys. Happy Monday, and great. Hey, let's. We're gonna take a question from you guys since you're in the room instead of going to the my little questions box. Wait, hold on. What happened? Oh shit.
John doesn't know how to use his phone.
Wait, how do I get it back?
Jesus.
There you go. All right. If you guys have any questions, put them in the box. We'll get to a couple before we head out.
There was a couple.
How many chances is too many chances when your partner does not change negative behavior? Ooh, that's a great question. Is it like baseball, 3 strikes? How do you know, chances wise?
Well, negative behavior is a little vague, right? I think it depends on what that behavior is. It depends on like what we're talking. Are we talking like, verbal emotional abuse, or are we talking about like is perpetually late and doesn't tell you and it feels, it feels disrespectful, right? As a range. Because I think that it depends on what it is, but I also feel like, is there a feeling that there is trying? Are they actually trying, or are you communicating it and they're being like, yeah, and then they're not changing at all? Because that to me feels very different too.
Also, when you say chances, are you actually talking to yourself, or did you communicate this to your partner? Because if you didn't, then that is not a chance. That's just you talking to yourself. So to me, giving someone a chance means it's on the table. Giving someone a chance means that there's been a discussion or couples therapy or something for that to be a legitimate chance. If you're just like, oh, he did this or did that, but don't say anything, there's no chance there. That's just you talking to yourself. Thank you for getting my book. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, speaking of my book, guys, I'm doing a Single on Purpose book club this Sunday in the lab. Starting this Sunday. And it's pretty
episodic.
It's pretty much free, because if you buy my book from my website, you get a month of the lab for free. Also, this lady right here teaches 2 classes. What do you teach? And talk about that real quick.
It's a series of codependency classes. So at this point, there's like 10 different rotating topics now. So we do everything from starting with a 101. And then I go into, boundaries. We talk about black and white thinking. We talk about acknowledging our needs, how upbringing contributes. There's a ton of different topics that all ladder up into codependency.
Yeah. So check out the lab. And guys, we have a podcast called It's Not Me, It's You, where we blame each other for an hour. Check that out. It's on all of the podcast platforms. Thank you for all your hearts. All right, guys. Be well. Happy Monday.